Dave here, how are you? Recently I made some Tracksaw dog locks and I made them out of plywood, and I did say that I was going to create some out of polycarbonate, and true to my word, here they are. Now these things are fantastic. They let me hold the track against the dog perfectly, and they're shaped in a wedge, so as I bring this up to the dog it engages and goes tight, but because in this particular situation I'm hinged and I'm traveling in an arc, it lifts off beautifully because it's reducing the amount of pressure as I lift up through the arc. But as I drop it back down again, it tightens up again. No movement. How nice are these? I'm going to show you how I did it. The first thing I did was do some measurements. Now I'm using a TSO track joiner here, and I measured the distance center to center on the holes where the grub screws go. I'm using the M6 speed knobs that TSO supply for their different jigs. They weren't really designed to go with this, but I thought it'd be a perfect opportunity. I then went into Aspire and I created a rectangle which was the size overall of this rectangle. Then I created a smaller rectangle which is for this little area here. I needed to create a 2mm taper, and how I did that was I pulled down a couple of rulers and gave me a 2mm starting point. Then I used their line tool and connected one point to the next, and then I deleted the part that I didn't want, so I had still a full vector. That was important. And then I jumped into the fillet tool and I created 5mm radius fillets there, 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 and there, and a 10mm radius fillet here, because this dog is 20mm diameter, 10mm radius. The good thing about that, rather than creating a circle, is because the fillet worked between that tapered section of 2mm and the right angle section that I'd already created, which was actually better than creating a circle there. So that was cool. Then go from CAD to CAM, and in CAM I selected the toolpaths and I used a 3mm spiral upcut in high-speed steel. Told it how many passes to do. In this particular situation it was 2 passes. And then now I'm also going forward, I'm going to create a third pass that is a clearance pass of 0.1 of a millimeter. And that'll work very well for me as well. That'll give me a nice clean edge. Then from there I saved the toolpath. I took the saved G-code that was on my USB down to the laptop that runs the CNC. Opened Mac 4, loaded it all up. I anchored a piece of 6mm thick polycarbonate onto the CNC, and I did that using some wedges and timber and some plastic dogs that John made for me, and it held it in beautifully. And then put the 3mm spiral upcut, high-speed steel, into the CNC, and then touched off the corner, and then away we went. And it's exciting. The main thing with polycarbonate is to get chip. If you go too slow, you'll end up melting the polycarbonate and it will melt onto the cutter and it won't cut. So it was a bit of mucking around to get the perfect speed. Some people have suggested I go faster. Well, maybe in the future I'll give that a try as well. But I got a good result with the speed that I used. So my speed on the, I think the speed for the cutter spinning was 14,000 RPM, and I think my travel, which is my feed, it was, I think it was 500mm a minute, so half a meter per minute. And it came up magic. From there, I took it down to the router table and I put a 1/16 round over cutter in it and cleaned up all of the edges, peeled off the tape, and then brought it back over here, slid it into position, and how nice is it? It's not going to slide anywhere. That's the problem that I've had with other units. They slide out all over the place and they're a pain to put onto the dog. Now you see the distance there? That's a fair bit of travel. So now it's a matter of, so now I slide it up into position, it locks onto the dog perfectly. I can still raise it up and off and then back down, held, not going anywhere. Now I can do my cut. Might be wondering why I've got this set up down here. With a track saw, you'll always get a little bit of shootout at the end, no matter what saw it is. So I have a dust hose connected up there. I will turn it on. Pretty cool, isn't it? It's pulling through there. I'm going to do my reverse scribe cut at 2mm deep to start. Set it to 2. It doesn't affect, these knobs don't affect the travel, and that's even with the battery version of this saw. So I'll do my reverse scribe first. So easy. And then my forwards cut at 20mm deep. And I can do this. And you know what? It's still there. Drop it back down. Beautiful. And a perfect cut. Of course. Look at that. There you go. You can't argue with that. Thanks for watching. If you like what I'm doing, please consider giving me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to click the bell and enable notifications. See you next time. Bye. Beautiful.